Beastmasters Club, experiencing the world's finest whiskey, one bottle at a time.
Hello, whiskey freaks. Welcome to Beastmasters Club podcast. This is a really fun episode we have for you today. This was our Dusty Battle featuring Josh Feldman and Josh Richholt. We had 100-year-old rye. We had some 1970s Bourbon de Luxe and Wild Turkey, and we had some 1950s Jim Beam. It was just really amazing. Josh and Josh battled for the title of Beastmasters Dusty Champion, and stay tuned to find out who won. Just a little quick club news. We did release our Four Roses barrel. It must have been the roses last week. I think we have I'd have 170, about 30 left. So if you want one, don't miss out. And we have some holiday treats coming up. So keep checking out beastmastersclub.com/shop. Also, next month, we're doing an event for the Wall Street Journal with Jimmy Russell from Wild Turkey. I think it is sold out, but we look forward to seeing a lot of you Beastmasters Wall Street Journal fans there. So that should be fun. Let us know if there's anything else you'd like to see in terms of events, in terms of bottles on the site, in terms of reviews. And here it goes. Enjoy the Dusty Battle. Cheers.
The Beastmasters Club is now in session.
All right. Thank you guys all for coming to Beastmasters Dusty Battle. All right. We have... Yeah. So we have a very special night for you guys tonight. These are whiskeys that you will probably never see again. You probably won't ever find anything like these again unless you're going to go and start hunting down some Dusties of your own, or you got some friends who do this. So Josh and Josh squared here, have each brought two whiskeys that you guys are going to taste and judge. So we're going to have 2 rounds of the contest. So after each, we're going to take your votes. You guys will decide which you like best, and you're really going to be judging the fate of these two gentlemen here. So
there can be only one Josh.
Yeah, there can be only one Joshua. So we have our contestants here, just to give you guys a little bit of background. You probably saw in the email. But we have Josh Feldman, an esteemed dusty hunter and whiskey historian. He's been searching through granny's basements and sketchy estate sales for many years, and is really extremely knowledgeable about whiskey history, what comes from where. I'm always amazed when I've done tastings with Mr. Feldman, just about how much knowledge he brings to the table on this stuff. It's great to have someone who really understands sort of how all of these distilleries have transformed over the years and how the industry has morphed and changed. He's a great source of knowledge, and hopefully tonight he's going to invest us all with some more of that. We have Josh Richholt here, another awesome dusty hunter who's been digging around through rural liquor store basements, and who knows where he finds all these things, but he does find them. So thanks for coming.
I'm the amateur Josh. This is the pro Josh.
Josh owns the Well out in Bushwick, an awesome spot, like many beers on tap, huge outdoor area, music venue. It's a great spot. So our 2 contestants, their fate is in your hands. Judge wisely, people. We also have tonight our judging panel. We have Mr. Steve Smokey B. Zeller himself, and
Hello.
Jake the Whiskey Warrior Cahill.
Sup?
2 folks that you guys all in the audience have probably seen and known before, and folks on the podcast will certainly know them. So these guys are going to give you a little guidance as to what you're drinking, along with our contestants, and just provide some context for you in terms of what you might want to be looking for, thinking about, etc. So without further ado, I think we can get into this, right?
Get it on.
All right.
Dusties.
So I think Josh Feldman is up first. He's going to tell us about his 1917 John Gibson Company rye, which was... I'll let him do it.
All right, so this is a weird and interesting bottle. So the medicinal pints were from Prohibition. They're called medicinal because you had to have a doctor's prescription to get them. This particular one was bottled by a guy named Louis Rosenstiel, who founded the second largest whiskey company in the United States, which is called Schenley. And this was during the time of the formation of Schenley. So this is a bottle that the label said John Gibson, which is actually a brand that is still extant. It's a brand of Canadian rye. that is well regarded, and that happened after repeal. That Shenley Industries took that brand and opened up a distillery in Canada and made a Canadian whiskey. Originally, before Prohibition, it was one of the classic West Pennsylvania, Brownsville, Pennsylvania ryes. This was America, the United States of America, historically had rye from the earliest days. It was connected with the Whiskey Rebellion. Western Pennsylvania was where the Whiskey Rebellion happened with George Washington, who had to levy taxes and brought an army into Western Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania was noted for a red high rye form of high rye mash bill form of rye. And then the other major style was Maryland style, which is a higher corn variety of rye that is much more like the rye that we get today. And this is actually, even though it's labeled Gibson, it says in smaller letters, it's the product of Robert Stewart Distillery of Baltimore. So it's actually a Maryland rye. Now, when you get an old bottle like this, you never quite know what's going to happen when you open it up. This bottle is 100 years old. It looked clear. The fill level was above the label, but low on the shoulder. But it has been sitting around for 100 years. Is it good? Is it not good? Could it have turned? Does it smell like the basement? Who the hell knows? So, and the other thing is that we're having all bourbons, and this is our only rye. So this is a Maryland rye. It got bottled in a bottle that was labeled with a famous Pennsylvania brand name on it. So it's quite a tangled story.
Yeah, it's a super rare treat to get some pre-Prohibition whiskey. So judges, any impressions of the John Gibson and Company 1917 rye?
I mean, Josh, can you step it up a little bit, really? Like 100-year-old whiskey? Come on.
Louis Rosenstiel. This was
Is that it?
famously mobbed up American businessman who founded Shenley Industries. This
Super
was-
dodgy.
Is that the same one? I thought that was the Rosenspiel. You know, I just thought there were two Rosenspiels from the same time. I was just getting them
Lou
confused.
Rosenspiel.
Lou Rosenspiel. It smells a little fucked up.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's you drink a lot of dusty stuff every now and again. That's my.
It smells
very
like
But
it smells like rye.
I mean, it doesn't. No, but that's the thing is you have to dig past it. I would say immediately when you first smell it, it's got this extremely medicinal smell, and that's not like for a pun or anything because it says medicinal on the purpose. This is probably not what this smelled like 100 years ago, but it still smells good. It's super interesting, but it doesn't smell like a bottle of whiskey that you would open that's around nowadays.
Yeah, not
obviously.
at all.
It smells damp. It smells wet. It smells old.
Any other thoughts from the judges panel here about our?
Well, what a treat. I mean, this is one of the oldest whiskeys I've ever had.
And to be fair, we only talked about kind of what we're smelling real quick. Have you tasted it yet? Mm-hmm. It tastes more like rye to me than it smells. It smells a little bit messed up. It smells a little bit medicinal and off, but the taste is like super minty and like it's actually almost cooling on the palate, like you're taking a shot of something that's been macerated with herbs.
Yeah, it does. It does have that more like herbal aperitif
Yeah.
kind of digestive.
Yeah,
flavoring
and there's those
to it.
wood tannins are super present. So
Which is
like,
pretty
I'm
typical
getting
from
those.
that era too.
Yeah.
You get a lot of that sort of more minty menthol
Yeah,
back.
super
in the day,
mentholy.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not. It's it's an experience.
Totally.
I think this is not
Absolutely.
something.
So you're getting a treat, folks.
Yeah. Thanks for
And
sharing it with us.
All right,
Heck
so
yeah.
our next whiskey on the docket is this Bourbon de Luxe from 1976 that Mr. Richholt brought for us. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about this.
Sure thing. Before we go on, I'm going to pass this bottle around. Whenever you open Dusties like this, it's always a crapshoot whether or not the whiskey inside is actually going to be good or not. You can taste a little bit of the sort of funkiness on this bottle we just had, especially these like really, really old ones. It can be total garbage. It can be, beautiful. You just really have no clue. And sometimes you open them and you get this. I'll let you all pass that around. Don't
That
taste it.
smells so bad.
Crazy.
So bad. I just figured it was Canadian whiskey, so it was supposed to smell like that. But man, that's way worse.
I should preface that by saying I am Canadian, by the way.
Okay, hoser. But
worse to you than the previous one?
No, I'm talking about the
the
bottle being
yeah,
passed
yeah.
around. Yeah.
So the reason why you're smelling a lot of what that odor is naphthalene, which is what you smell in mothballs as well.
It's deluxe.
Yeah, naphthalene is the chemical. So that'll come off of the cork. There's two schools of thought on this particular bottle. Either it was the cork itself that went bad, and it wasn't a very big cork in that bottle though, or it's possible that the actual barrel that it was aged in was improperly charred. If you don't char it far enough, you actually create naphthalene in the wood.
Huh.
So
really?
it could, so it
That's
could
super
be one of
interesting.
the others.
So,
you know.
so if you only sort of like half char a barrel, then
Yeah.
you're
Or-
actually creating that naphthalene chemical like compound within the charred wood.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never heard that before. So along with like releasing all the other kind of esters and oils and other things you can create, you can screw it up.
Yeah,
Basically.
absolutely.
I never knew that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is,
Although I
this
did
is-
try because I was so sad when I opened it up. I did try just in case it was just a smell. It is not just a smell.
What did it? And what does it taste like?
It tastes like mothballs. Yeah.
Ah, awesome.
Gross.
It's like I usually snack on those, once a month. And
I'm pretty sure I
You have
could
to
have
develop
killed
a
moths
taste
with
for
that
it, you know?
that breath. Yeah.
So-
all right.
Seeing the reactions of everybody as they smell that bottle is priceless.
Yeah.
It's just like,
just puckered faces everywhere. So, all right.
Right. So back to the number 2.
Number 2, yeah. So this is the Bourbon de Luxe from 1976. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on this?
This one I chose because it's from a fairly famous distillery that is no longer around, which was National Distillers. They started around Prohibition time, so sort of around the time when number 1 was actually bottled, and they became known for just being a really phenomenal distillery that was around for a long time. They were a huge powerhouse, through up until their demise in I think 90. And so this is sort of this is one of their baseline whiskeys. This is what became sort of in the 80s and 90s just what was considered well whiskey, essentially. And this is a 4-year bourbon, and it's only 80 proof, it's only 40% alcohol. So it's a lot lighter than a lot of these other ones, but just a really nice butterscotch kind of caramel bomb.
Totally.
That is nice.
I agree with that 100%. So like, even if before you had said that, it smells like a Werther's Original that had like kind of like been like soaking in a glass for a little bit. It's amazing. I mean, 80 proof and only 4 years and like this flavor. I've had a lot of like really inexpensive bourbons that are on the shelf nowadays, including the reiteration of this, when it was bought over by Beam. Is it distilled by Beam? Yeah. And it's nowhere near as flavorful as this. It's nowhere near as soft. There's not as much oils. This is actually like extremely delicious bourbon, and it probably cost like $7 for that bottle back in the 70s. And it's dark and it's delicious and it's caramelly. Yeah, that's really good.
There are some very sound reasons why a 4-year-old bourbon from the 70s would be a lot better than a 4-year-old bourbon from today. And it has to do with the counting. It has to do with bean counters and production methods. They barrel it at a higher proof now, which means they can water it down with more water to get to the same proof. They can mash it more quickly. It spends less time with the yeast because they have faster yeasts. They have a yeast that will distill it to a higher degree of alcohol than in the old days because they've selectively bred yeasts that are more efficient. At every step of the way, they've found ways to get more alcohol per the dollar and per unit of time. And every one of those steps has had a small incremental cost to flavor.
That's so yeasty. All right, well, I'm getting a yeast infection, so let's move along, bro. Yeah, I know. All right, but I'm turning our judges to just see 1 and 2. You've had them both, right? We have the Gibson Co. 1917. We have the Bourbon de Luxe 76. What are your thoughts? Give us some things, Mr. Smoky Beast. What do you think? Where do you land?
I mean, the first one's not really drinkable, but it's just so cool that we're drinking 100-year-old whiskey. I gotta be honest. I mean, tomorrow I'm gonna forget that I'm drinking kind of mothball-y stuff and just remember that I was drinking 100-year-old whiskey. So that's cool. I mean, when we first poured it out, I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be incredible!" And it smelled. It's got this rye thing, but I don't know. It's very sour and it's kind of tough, but it's so cool, and I'm just excited about it. The Bourbon de Luxe is like, I mean, it's, I'm a big high proof bourbon drinker, so this one is like probably, not something I would typically go to, and there's no way it's 4 years old, by the way. It says 4 years in the bottle, but that would be a minimum age. I just can't imagine that it's only 4 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd agree with that, but
Right.
yeah, I get that butterscotch and caramel. I get some kind of grass and farminess behind it. A tiny little bit of spice and a nice kind of wood. So it's all wrapped up. But I mean, I got to go with the crazy oddball 100-year-old whiskey bomb. So I'm just gonna go with number one because why the fuck not? It's
Boom. Number one for number one. All right. So, and Mr. Whiskey Warrior, what are your thoughts?
They're both super interesting. Again, like Steve said, it is really a treat, to drink something that's 100 years old. Like that's fucking nuts. It's 100 years old. It's been in this little bottle. What has this bottle seen? Where has it been? It's lived through.
Live as long
it's
as
lived
this
through
whiskey.
so much stuff.
It's seen a few cabinets, basically.
Yeah.
But here's but this is
Seen the inside of a few cabinets and basements.
this is how I want to
You can
equate
see it
this.
crying at the state of our nation today. You can just,
Oh my god, yeah.
It's basically spent more than a lifetime in prison. But
So I'm thinking of this in a weird way. This is like if you had like a top 5 celebrity list of people you wanted to sleep with, and drinking 100-year-old whiskey is like that's the top of your list. That's like you're pining over like that number one celebrity. You're like, I'll never run into them. If I ever do, though,
So you're
it's gonna be
saying
the
this-
best sex I've ever had.
this whiskey would be on your whiskey hump island.
So yes.
All right.
So 100-year-old whiskey has been on my I want to have sex with list for a very long time. And you have the experience, and it's more of the build up to the experience that is amazing than the actual experience. And then this like young, D-list celebrity comes in out of nowhere, and you have this amazing night, and you just connect, and she's saying all the right things, and she's just so sweet and inviting and soft. And it was way better than what your top of the list was. So I'm going to go with the amazing out of nowhere one night stand that I never would have expected to be so good.
All right.
you don't have to fuck every whiskey we drink. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
So,
everybody
my
keep
vote
your
is
hands to
very-
yourselves.
Sexual harassment is sexual harassment.
Not if you agree upon it. It's Bourbon de Luxe for me all the way. Super,
All right.
Yeah.
So we've got one vote for each from the judges panel. Now it is up to all of you, right? So who's for number one? The Gibson and Company 1917 Rye. Okay, that's 4 votes. How many votes for the Bourbon Deluxe 1976? That's the rest of everybody. So I think we have a clear winner here. Landslide victory. Yeah, so obviously rare treat, the 100-year-old whiskey. Something that I was really fired up about for tonight.
Totally.
And I know our judges were super psyched as
Hell
well.
yeah.
And when we invited Feldman, we knew they
my
didn't
God.
quite expect anything this crazy, but I had a feeling there'd be something.
Yeah, we knew he was going to
out of left field.
And when I saw the picture of the pre-pro medicinal bottle, I was like, "Whoa!" Josh is holding no blows back.
And
So-
Josh, I have to say, I'm loving your new look too. You're kind of like a poker playing Gandalf or something like that.
yeah. But here's our victor, the Bourbon Deluxe.
Bourbon Deluxe, round
Bourbon
one.
Deluxe, round one. I knew Josh was going to win that round.
And just for the folks at home, it has like a fun medievally gothic scripty label on it, and it's got a little bit of a knight in armor and its little crest on here. So they're going for deluxe, like some Charlemagne deluxe or something. I don't really know.
That was a beautiful description.
I tried.
I'm a millennial. Google Bourbon Deluxe.
All right, so moving along, we're gonna get into round 2 now. After we have a winner for round 1, so now we'll see where our contest takes us. Our next whiskey is going to be the Jim Beam Grecian Urn from 1955.
It's the Battle of the Decanters, yeah.
Just so you guys can see this, this is a custom decanter that they put out, which is this really beautiful, funky Grecian urn that looks like it would be in like a Greek or Italian restaurant or something, like a pizza place somewhere out in the somewhere lands. But it is really, like, when I saw a picture of this, I was just so fired up because I love this thing. It's like a beautiful piece of a wacky Americana all rolled into our little whiskey fest. So I'm assuming that this is Mr. Feldman's offering. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this Grecian urn?
This is the most off-the-hook Mad Men era piece of kit I could possibly imagine. This is bonded bean, which means it's bottled in bond. It has a bottled in bond strip, which gives the years of production. This was fall of 1955 to fall of 1961. So it's a 6-year-old, and there's a reason. So Jim Beam is the #1 bourbon in America, and there's a reason that it is. It is by far distant to Jack Daniel's, which is technically a bourbon, although that's a fighting word. They want to call themselves Tennessee. Anyway, so if you accept the fiction that it is Tennessee bourbon and not Tennessee whiskey and not bourbon, then Beam is in fact the #1. And why is it the #1? If you drink Jim Beam now, you might love it, you might like it, but whatever. Taste this now and tell me what you think.
The color of this is nuts. I don't know any Beam on the market that's like this dark and beautiful.
Now we're talking here. This is like, this nose is magic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So give us some thoughts, Beast and Warrior. What are your
First,
impressions?
Jake. I just keep calling you Josh because everyone's fucking Josh.
I know you're getting.
There's a lot of J's up here.
This is really cool, actually, for me. So I've been fortunate enough to hang out with a bunch of people that are privy to some dusty stuff. So I've had a lot of old bourbon before. I've actually never had any old Beam, like super dusty Beam. So the fact that I'm getting this that was distilled in 1955 as my first one, that's kind of badass, and I'm super gracious about that. Aesthetically, I love everything about this. The decanter is so cheesily bad, and I love it. Like I want to drink whatever I'm drinking all the time out of that. I want to make that my new hiking canteen. It's amazing. In the glass, this is so dark and beautiful, and this like kind of like almost like cherry red hue on it. It jumps out of the nose. I mean, it's got a little bit of that kind of old dusty funk that I sometimes pick up on old wild turkeys, which is cool because I don't get that on a lot of Beam stuff from nowadays. But it's got that beautiful kind of like rich nuttiness. It is caramelly, but it's got this kind of like roasted chestnut thing going on, like Christmas spices that really bring it home for me. I like it a lot. It smells great.
Yeah, I'd agree. This is nothing unrecognizable from Jim Beam. If you poured it for me, I have no idea. It's got a ton of mint, wood, vanilla, cocoa, little spices, maybe some little red grapes going on, and it's amazing. The finish is there. The palate is there. It's oily. It's really oily on the tongue.
It's bonded, you said, right? 100 proof?
Yeah, bottled in bond.
Super well balanced, dude, for 100 proof.
Amazing that decanter held up like it did, and it's delicious.
Yeah,
Great job.
And it does taste a little dusty. I mean, you do get that little bit of funk, that little bit of kind of like moisture. Again, it always tastes a little bit like damp to me on the back end.
But in a good way with this one.
Oh, totally. It's really well balanced. I dig that a lot. It's good, and that minty thing is totally true. It's super fresh, like
very minty.
Yeah.
Totally about a spice that you wouldn't find in Beam today.
Yeah. So just real quick too. So this was distilled in 55 and bottled in 61. Yeah.
I was gonna say, as a dusty hunter, a lot of people saved decanters because they were pretty, which is of course why during the glut. So what happened was. Sexual revolution happened, women became empowered, and they wanted to drink cocktails, and they wanted to drink wine and white spirits. And the brown spirits kind of disappeared. And this really caught the industry off guard. They weren't expecting it, and there was a glut. There became an enormous overproduction of bourbon, and they were just trying anything they could to move it out the door. So there was a whole period of decanters where they were trying to make collectibles out of it. If you're not going to drink it, at least just buy it and put it on the shelf. So a lot of people did that. They bought pretty decanters. I don't know where this one came from, but and then the people saved them. They ended up not being drunk, so you find them a lot. The problem with the decanter is you can't see the fill level, so it's possible you got low fill. You can judge it sort of by shaking it, but it's quite hard to do. And you can't be sure that the seal is good or that some sort of contamination is the liquor inside clear or cloudy. So. It's a familiar thing for dusty hunters. You buy these decanters and you hope, and you find out when you open them and pour them.
Josh, did you just blame shitty whiskey on feminism? Did that just happen?
Man.
Wow.
I can provide a URL.
Wet there.
I have some support for that.
So,
And typically, when you tell people that you're a dusty hunter, almost everybody, the first thing they do is say, "Oh, my grandfather's got one of these on his shelf," and almost everybody had a decanter from that era. It seems like.
Except for my grandpa. Damn it.
Useless grandpa. No.
yeah, what was he doing? Drinking good stuff. No, sorry.
Drinking Sambuca, like a true Italian
Jake's
American.
grandfather invented the Cosmo.
Yes, my grandfather is Dale DeGroff.
All right, so that's our first. That's our
Really
first
strong
offering.
showing.
Our
Yeah,
first
it's good.
offering, an amazing showing. I just love the decanter. When I saw a picture of this, I just flipped out. I really want this thing.
Ben's got a real thing for soft baby blue.
Yeah, soft baby blue, fake Grecian design is really my thing.
It's like the word ersatz. It's like defined. Yeah.
Yeah, very kitschy.
I don't know what that means.
Cool. So
Google
now
it.
we're going into our second whiskey of round 2. This is an 8-year Wild Turkey. Also, again, probably much older than 8 years. 8 years is the lowest number of years that anything put into this bottle was from 1978. This is Mr. Richholt's offering. Please give us a little bit of background here.
Yeah, so this is another, I wanted to go with another kind of powerhouse as far as Dusties go. And Wild Turkey has been good for ever, really. Wild Turkey is one of my favorites. And Austin Nichols started doing Wild Turkey back in the 40s. They took a bunch of their executives out on a hunt, and one of the guys brought with them, this bourbon to drink. And it was such a hit that they, said, hey, where was that whiskey you had from the turkey hunt? And it became the Wild Turkey. And that was, they've made it ever since. It's been their sort of their trademark whiskey that they make. And in the 70s, they started doing these decanters, and I think they did decanters right up until the 90s, and did these series of them. This was the first series. And they got a little bit more violent each series. The turkey would start fighting other animals. It would fight a bear and an eagle and, all these different things.
Because it was wild.
Yeah. But it's always the 8101. There's oddly one decanter that was a 9101 that they actually, listed as. But right up until, today, it's been a solid label the entire time.
I always wanted to see a Wild Turkey decanter of like a Wild Turkey with like an AC/DC T-shirt on and like a tattoo
There
on its
probably
arm that
is
said
one, no.
"Mom," and it was just like ripping shots of Wild Turkey 101. You'd be like, man, that turkey's wild.
The Angus Young turkey.
You should 3D print that or something. It could be, it could be a thing.
Do your own.
I'm not that much of a millennial.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Come on. All right. So gobble gobble. I this is another decanter that I love. So this is decanter versus decanter in our second round. So a 50s versus a 70s decanter. So it's like this is sort of a funky disco turkey versus a Mad Men-esque Grecian urn, right? Any thoughts from the judges on this Wild Turkey 8-year? Probably more like a 12-year from what we've heard from the folks at Wild Turkey.
So, we're huge Wild Turkey fans. Actually, next month, we have Jimmy Russell coming into town. He's like the grandfather of Wild Turkey. 83 years old, has been in the business for 60 years. And he's going to do a live barrel pick with us. We're doing this for the Wall Street Journal. I would love to have this on the table if we can borrow this empty from you when he comes.
He would love it.
Actually, if he's coming, I've got one that I'll bring with. It is from the year before he started.
Oh, wow.
You should totally come.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're huge fans. It's really fun to think that this was something that he made 30 years ago when he would have been like in his, late 40s, early 50s, and like at the height of his whiskey making. Super fun to think about that. And it's just delicious. Both of these last two are fucking amazing. It's just it's like diving into a melted chocolate bar with a little like cigar, like pipe tobacco going on, and
a little marshmallow too.
Yeah,
even.
like s'mores and leather, and just so much going on here. It's just phenomenal. Both of these last two whiskeys, I'm like
eating a s'mores in a cigar bar.
Yeah. Totally goo for these two. What do you think, Jake?
They're both, God, they really are. They're both so good. That Wild Turkey was really cool. So to focus on the Wild Turkey real quick, the nose on it is just so seductive. It's amazing. It's rich. You can just smell that it's a full-bodied bourbon. It's got this beautiful, like soft, like baked fruit. It does have that kind of awesome cedary, sweet pipe tobacco thing going on that you were talking about. It smells like it's like just going to be perfect for dessert. I don't know.
Sweet.
And I've had a lot of these. I've had a lot of these older turkeys that have been like really unctuous and dirty and earthy, and this one, it's just so well balanced. It's got this like really great fruity, sweety, caramelly fruity, sweet, caramelly edge.
Yeah, sweetie.
You know, like for this time of year, like, you know, we're drinking this during the fall. It tastes like a candied apple with like that beautiful like shit. And like, I don't know, I'm just extremely drawn to that. But they were both really, really fantastic. I haven't had two decanters like side by side like this before. I haven't had a lot of decanters. I've heard a lot of you know, like the lore around them that they're kind of dangerous to drink from. I'm super happy to find out they're not.
Well, we
dangerous.
actually Josh are.
Yeah, I was worried about that too.
So just so everybody understands, when you have a decanter that is a pottery decanter, right? Any kind of ceramic, a lot of the glazes used probably pre like 90s contain some lead. Or can possibly contain lead,
which obviously alcohol breaks down.
Some can be tested, but the alcohol can absorb a bit of the lead. I think if you're drinking a small amount like this and you're an adult, probably not an issue.
Josh,
Like,
you were
So if
saying
you're a
you-
kid, you better stay away from this stuff, okay?
Josh Richholt was telling us that
the paranoid guy was really worried about it. Yeah, so I went and got tested. I've been tested a couple of times now because I really like wild turkey. Yeah.
We should all get tested more often, to be honest.
Keep your health in check. Get to your doctor. Be tested when you're out there just, drinking around, as they say.
And so, Josh, you're what, 70% lead now? Is that
72, something like that. They said not to worry until 75.
We call him Magneto. It's okay. Round 2, folks. Round 2. Let the voting begin. Let's get a show of hands for Jim Beam, Grecian Urn, 1955. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
I don't think we need to go any further.
15.
Wow.
15. All right, 15. Wow. I don't think we really need the other show of hands, but a show of hands for the Wild Turkey 8-year. Well, we're split. We have a split decision. So we have to vote. So we have a split decision. So
on whiskey of the night.
Yeah, Josh Feldman won round 2. Josh Richholt won round 1.
Oh my God! Tell me there's a tiebreaker. Is there more whiskey hidden somewhere?
So we have it. So we're having. No, but now we need to do our overall favorite. So that's going to be the tiebreaker. So we're going to say like.
First of all, how about a hand for our 2 contenders here today?
Yeah.
I mean, do we do this right? Like, you're sitting in front of a 1917, 55, and 270s whiskeys, like,
Come on now.
Can't go wrong.
Nice job.
We're super happy we could bring this to you. Let's get to the heart of the matter. Let's take a final vote for our favorite whiskey of the evening, so we can determine a winner of our Dusty Battle. So who's for number 1? Number 1. That's the Josh Gibson Company 1917 rye.
That's not a vote. I'm just stretching.
One vote. Let's just say that was an amazing treat. Yeah, for the cool factor, I think everybody would vote for it, and it was an amazing treat. But all right, number 2, Bourbon de Luxe, 1976.
There you go.
We've got
a couple
3 votes
for
for the Bourbon de Luxe. Okay, number 3, our Jim Beam Grecian Urn. 15 votes. Okay, I think that's gonna carry it. But let's see. And I'll actually, if I have a vote, I would vote for that one too. But let's say the Wild Turkey 8-year from 1978. Let's see the votes.
Wow.
4 votes.
But it was a close second for me. They're both super good.
Okay, so
what are you gonna do?
In kind of a turnabout is fair play scenario, Josh Feldman came back strong in round 2 with the Jim Beam Grecian Urn.
Well done.
So then the current belt holder of Dusty Champion at the Beastmasters Club goes to Josh Feldman.
Hey!
Thank you guys for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you to our judges, Mr. Smokey Beast and Mr. Warrior. A big thank you to Josh Richholt and Josh Feldman, our new Dusty Champion. And keep coming back for more. Thank you. This concludes our evening of podcasting. And now just enjoy yourselves. Party time. All right.
Hasta la vista.